Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. I am your host, the Exceptional One, Kevin McClinton. It is a great honor and great privilege to talk with you all this evening, along with Keith Swank, who is running in the U.S. House of Representatives, the 8th Congressional District. Swank for America is where you want to go. Swank for America. What a tremendous pleasure it is to talk with you this particular evening, sir. Thank you so much for your time and attention to the issues at large. Mr. Swank, you have served our country as a military person, as a police officer, patrol officer. You have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly through most of your experience. But I assure you that none of that will be anything like you will see in Washington, D.C. What did your family think when you told them that you were interested in running for the House of Representatives?
Well, this is the this is actually the third time I ran. In 2012, I ran for the House of Representatives, and that was a learning curve for us there. And it was very stressful for my family because I got attacked in the media about especially about controversial things that happened on the police department and throughout my career. But when it was all said and done, it was a good experience. And I have to remember my brother, my older brother, who has nothing to do with politics, but he told me one time, he said, "Hey, at least you're getting some publicity, getting your name out there. It might be bad, but the people who are real Americans can see through that. And they understand that the media tries to make cops look bad all the time. And he knows, and everybody knows me, knows I did a good job, the best of my ability every time."
Now, we did a show on Friday about the hoax and the whole idea of victimization in communities across the country, whether it be Washington, D.C., or Seattle, Washington. And there are those who basically state that social justice warriors have the right idea of what needs to be done in terms of reform for the police. I want to get your thoughts. What are some of the things that the police need to better police communities, and exactly how can the federal government at the House level help in that regard?
Well, I think most of the work needs to be done at the local level, but the way the federal government can work is to work with our partnerships with the federal departments such as the FBI and DEA and agencies like that. However, there's a lot of issues and problems, as we all know, with the FBI and other agencies that we need to clean up first. And when we get that cleaned up, and President Trump is trying to do a job of doing that, then we can work together there. I have been involved with task forces and other issues with federal government, and many of the people there are good. But when I hear people say that the 99% of the FBI agents, for example, are all good, it's only the 1%, that's not true. There's a lot of people in there. Previous administrations, like the Obama administration, wanted to get leftists in the FBI so they can come after conservatives, conservative people, Second Amendments people, things like that. And so it really needs to be cleaned up. And once that's done, with the help of President Trump and good conservatives back in Washington, D.C., then we can have uh, criminal justice reform then. But until then, it's going to be very difficult to do that.
Well, Keith, there was a report that the FBI itself did on itself that says that there is no political ideology, no bending to the left or to the right, that these men and women only think of the law and the spirit of the law. Do you find that to be the case in terms of working with them? And what can we do to actually move those individuals out and replace them with some good folk?
No, that's not the case. But to remove them is very difficult because they have unions and things like that that keeps them employed. But the issue is this: it's really political. The higher you move up in rank in a police department or an agency, the more political it becomes. I'm a captain. The next person above me is an assistant chief. There's only 7 people who outrank me in my police department. It's not really political for me, but the next step up is very political. All the time, it's politics are involved in this. Politics are involved in decision making. I don't like it. I want to do what's right. My people want to do what's right. So I don't want to go any further up the chain of command than I am. But anybody who's been around for a while, and I've been there 30 years, understands the politics about this job. It's very involved in it.
Now, going all the way up in terms of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and I don't know what agency would ever come out with a bad grade if it investigated itself. Um, I want to talk with you about impeachment in this particular case because I know the great people in Washington State are just on edge. They all they can think about is the impeachment. They can't think of anything else. Uh, I got to ask you: is the House of Representatives showing America what our Constitution is all about, or do you have some considerations that differ from what the House did in terms of the impeachment process?
That's a great point. Once President Trump was elected, actually before he was elected, they already started crafting impeachment. They've been working on impeachment since the day he was elected. And so they already had 2 months on it before he was sworn in. Nancy Pelosi and others talked about how they were going to impeach him. All they have to do is keep working on it. They've been trying this with the Russia hoax, the Ukraine hoax, all the stuff that's going on. They continue doing this all the time. They're after him, and I'm saying this: we Republicans, when there's a Democrat president in the House, hopefully there never will be, but if there ever is again, we Republicans need to do the exact same thing because they have been after President Trump forever. I have never witnessed so much hate in my life from the media or the left or the Democrats. They've been looking for anything, anytime they can, and trying to impeach him his whole time. And look at all the wonderful things he's gotten done while this is going on. I can't imagine what he could have gotten done had he not been obstructed by the Democrats and, frankly, some people from the Republican Party.
Yeah. Were you shocked that there was talk that there would be four Republicans that would support an impeachment in the U.S. Senate? Were you shocked at all by that?
No, I wasn't shocked because we have a lot of people that have an R by their name, but they're rhinos, and they're even worse than that. In 2012, I ran against a Republican incumbent here in Washington State in this 8th congressional district because he had the most liberal voting record of anybody in Congress. I'm talking including New Jersey, New York. So I ran against him, and no, I'm not surprised. He voted more with Democrats than he did with Republicans, and they wanted to call it moderate. It's we need to have strict constitutional conservatives in Washington, D.C. that stand by and agree with limited government roles. And that's what we need to send back to Washington, D.C. This is a fight for our country. It's very important. Look, I could retire in a year and just move off to Idaho. It's a wonderful state and just live up in the mountains the rest of my life. But this state of Washington is my state. It's my home. I love it. I want to save it. I want to make Washington great again. And we have a lot of work to do.
Well, there you go. You're using the MAGA hat thing, the red hat thing. You know that triggers people. Right? Don't you feel responsible for all of the negativity that has gone on in America as a result of a red hat that says "Make America Great Again"?
Yeah, it's great. Actually, it's really funny because today it's snowing out here in Seattle. We don't get snow very often. And I was just watching us driving down the road, all the snowflakes melt. So it was just reminding me of everything that's going on with politics then too. It was really funny.
You know, for many Americans in the southern and southwest of our country, immigration is a huge, huge issue. And many Americans are tossed to and fro at the local level because there is not a support for federal involvement in the immigration process, building the wall. The president just received support from the U.S. Appeals Court that the wall can be built with military funds. I want to ask you, do you believe it is a just thing to use military funding to build a wall? And then, secondly, do you believe that the U.S. House of Representatives has done all that it could to protect Americans from threats foreign onto our domestic lands?
I'll answer the last question first. No, they haven't. This is the most important thing for America is to secure our border. It's more important than anything else. And the reason why for that is 90% of our drugs come across the southern border. We had 66,000 people die of opioid overdoses last year. That's a football stadium full of people that are dead from opioid overdoses. We have drug cartels coming across the border. We have them coming across the border killing people. We have illegal criminals coming across the border killing people. We have human trafficking coming across the border. We have the sex trade involving children. It is out of control. The Democrats don't want to do anything about it because they understand that 70% of immigrants that come to America vote for Democrats because Democrats offer them free stuff. It's a voting block for them. That's all they care about. If they really cared about them, they would do something about this, about all the crime and everything. A border wall is necessary for national security. It's also necessary because a country is defined by borders, language, and culture. And we need to make sure we continue on with that.
Keith, there are those who are watching tonight and they're saying, gee, you seem to be a very tough guy on immigration. You want to separate children from their parents. You want to lock them up in cages. Uh, don't you see the abuses that are going on against those who just want to start a new life? What say you, sir?
No, I don't see that. But I will say this as a police officer, I've separated families all the time. When we put a parent in jail, they're separated from their children. So that falls on deaf ears with me. You're committing a crime. The reason why the children aren't with the adults is to protect them from the criminals and other people from harming the children. So that is not a true statement. The left wants to say that we're tearing families apart, but throughout America every day. Police departments, quote unquote, tear families apart when we put bad people in jail. They have children, they're not with their family. If we had that, we would just say, well, then nobody goes to jail then because we don't want to separate families.
Keith Swank with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, running in the 8th Congressional District of Washington State's House of Representatives, well, for the House of Representatives and out of Washington State. I forget the proper way of saying that, but for the House of Representatives in the United States of America, representing Washington State's 8th Congressional District. In the sense of your role as a police officer, one of the most important roles is bringing home money. It makes the family happy, if do say so myself. So I got to ask you here: are you finding that police officers are a little bit more happy with their retirement plans right now than they were under the Obama administration? And if so, what do you think actually led to that?
Wow. You know what? I don't want to tell you, I don't have a lot of money, but I have a 401k, and in my line of work, it's called a 457. Since President Trump's been in office, it's doubled. I had been putting into it for 27 years. It doubled in 3 years' time.
Wow.
Imagine what could happen if President Trump hadn't been obstructed. The stock market is at all-time high. Unemployment is the lowest it's ever been, probably for 50 years, 75 years. It's amazing. And he's getting this all accomplished while being attacked nonstop every single day. I don't understand. I don't even know how he can even do it. I mean, it is so taxing just to watch what's going on that it's incredible the amount of stamina that he has and the drive that he has that keep going on with that. And if we had enough people from Washington, D.C. that supported his policies, the sky's the limit.
Listen, there are those who would say that there were things that the Obama administration did that made the stock market double the way that it had. I mean, we went from 18,000. I remember on election night, the Nobel Prize winning economist stated that the stock market would drop 50% virtually overnight. And we watched it grow from 18,000 to 29,000. We're darn near 30,000 at this point. Are you hearing people in the locker room say thank you Obama, or are they saying thank you Donald Trump?
They're saying thank you, Donald Trump. They're not saying thank you, President Obama. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Now, I got to ask you in this regard: there are lots of states like Illinois that have retirement crunches. California to your south, who have retirement crunches coming, where they have promised more than they have brought in terms of revenue or invested well. Do you believe that the federal government should be the holder of that particular debt? Do you believe that they should bail out the states?
Not at all. That's the responsibility of the states. California, some of the cities there said if you work 20 years, they would give you a 100% pension. Who could do that? It would still keep the city intact without going bankrupt. It is astronomically crazy to do something like that. For instance, in Washington State, we have a good pension. It's very solvent. I pay a lot of money into it every month. I appreciate that I'm going to have a pension because lots of people don't have it. So I've worked really hard to have it. But we would have to work 50 years in order to get 100% of a pension,
Wow.
not 20 years. So it's 2% per year as an example in Washington State. So, and that's a reasonable amount of pension because you're putting a lot of money into it, and all of that is accumulating wealth over the years, especially the last 3 years. It's accumulated a lot of wealth.
You understand what it's like to be a blue collar worker. AOC describes herself as part of that blue collar working force. And she and many millennials believe that it's the role of government to provide economic security. Do you believe that? And if not so, do you believe that the Social Security needs to be decoupled from the Treasury Department and attached to the New York Stock Exchange and the investment banking world?
I do not think it's the role of the government to provide for you. I believe it's the role of the government to get out of your way to provide for yourself. We have freedom, we have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Not everybody has the same skills, the same drive, or the same ability. Some people are going to be more successful than others, especially financially. But that's what this is about. It's not about the government promising you something because when the government promises you something, that means they have to steal it from somebody else in order to give it to somebody. So I'm totally against that. I'm for limited government, for them out of the way so that people can be as successful as they want to be.
Do you believe that people should be given the right to invest their retirement away from the Treasury Department and put into investment vehicles? When you talk about watching your investment double in 3 years, can you imagine what Social Security retirement would be for a citizen who's 70 years old if they had invested their money along the way?
Yeah, actually, I totally agree with that. First off, I think Social Security it's going to go bankrupt. It's
Yes.
insolvent. Same as Medicare. There has to be solutions for it, and some of the solution I think is the best is the free market, where people can take their money and put it in and invest it in ways they want to. They can invest it conservatively if they want to. They can invest it aggressively. Same thing that we do with 401ks and things like that. So we can have some control over it, see where we want to go. And if we're successful, we're successful. If we fail, we fail. But at least then we have ownership of that and we have investment into it, and we will make those decisions. We are full grown adults. We should be able to make our own decisions for ourselves, not be told what to do.
So you really believe that individuals spend their money better than the government? Am I correct in that regard?
Absolutely. And even if they don't, it's their right to spend their money how they see fit.
Would you would you want billionaires like Donald Trump and Tom Steyer and Michael Bloomberg to have another round of tax cuts? Because you know the tax cuts only help the millionaires and the billionaires. They didn't help you, right?
Well, actually, it really helped me a lot. But here's what I really think. I believe in a flat tax. I believe everybody has to have skin in the game because when people don't pay taxes or pay very little taxes, it's really easy for them to say, hey, let's have Ken pay more taxes because he makes more money than me. But if we all have some skin in the game, then we all have some ownership. As you know, and your listeners know, the bottom 50% of taxpayers pay hardly any taxes at all. The top 10% pay like 80% of the taxes. So then the other people, we're pitting people against each other. Then we're saying, hey, let's just go attack these people who are millionaires and billionaires and take their money from them instead of saying, hey, let's all work. I want everybody to be as wealthy as they want to be, as wealthy as they can be. But I also want to have everybody to have skin in the game because once you have skin in the game and you're paying some taxes, then you might start thinking about whether you want to increase taxes on anybody, including yourself.
You know that mentality is going to keep you away from going to dinner with Bernie Sanders. You know that, right? You're not going to be welcome at Bernie Sanders' home with that type of
at
mentality.
that at that millionaire's house, yeah, I understand that.
Now, in coming to the close of this interview, and I thank you so much for giving me so much of your time, and we will look forward to you coming back on the program because there are tons of other issues that I want to broach with you. And I talked about the American dream, and I can remember a few years ago, the whole idea of the American dream was seen as sordid and greedy and totally perverse. That it is the job of Americans to think of somebody else, not themselves. I want to ask you first and foremost, do you believe it's greedy for individual Americans to do well? And then, secondly, how do you see the American dream on the left versus the right?
I do not think it's. I think it's great when people do well, and I encourage that. I want everybody to be successful. I want everybody to have a well-paying job. I want everybody to have the house or the amenities that they want to have. We all know that that's not going to happen for everybody because people have different skill levels, but I want people to have that ability to be able to do that. I also think it's very important for those of us who are more fortunate and are Christians, such as myself, to help out people. That's what we do. We do it through charitable organizations or through our churches and things like that. I totally agree with that. I don't want the government in that role. I want that to be by people to do it ourselves. We are the most giving country in the whole world.
Yeah.
Americans are, and we help people out and we care about people. So that's really important. As far as the American dream goes, the left's American dream is to have government control your life and tell you what to do, where to go, what type of job to have, what type of car to drive, where you're going to live. You're going to live in a building above the place where you work and things like that. My dream is for you to be able to do whatever you want to be able to do as long as it doesn't harm other people or break the law and things like that. That's what American dream's about. I mean, if you don't want to work, that's fine. I just don't want to have to pick stuff paying for you. If you do want to work, that's even better, right? So that's what the
Exactly.
American dream is. As long as they keep their hands out of our pockets and keep their hands off of our property, then I'm all for whatever your dream is.
Keith Swank, we appreciate you and your service to our country. My bouncer in chief, Mary Brockman, thanks you in the chat room for your service to our country. How can people support your campaign? How can people support you in becoming a constitutional conservative here in Washington, D.C.?
Well, here's the deal. People say to me, I don't live in your congressional district. I can't support you. Well, yes, you can. You can support us on social media by sending out information about us. But the most important thing is we need money. But the second most important thing of that is we need the number of people who donate and believe in our campaign, because when we show that we have this support, then the support comes from other groups then to help get our message out. So go to keithswankforamerica.com, check out the website, follow me on Twitter at Swank for America, and we also have a Facebook page. And reach out to us and contact us and give us your time. If you live in Washington 8th, give us your money. If you live anyplace else in America, not foreign countries, and we will do that. Even if it's $5, it all helps out. The
Now,
more people we have to support the campaign, the better it is.
Keith, you're not a Hillary Clintonite, are you? You don't take foreign money? What's that all about?
No, no. I'll wait to do that for my library.
Exactly. Keith Swank, thank you so much for being on our program this evening. You have definitely got to support Keith Swank for office. Go to at Swank for America at Twitter. At Swank for America at Twitter. We thank God for your service to our country, sir. We look forward to your return in the coming weeks. Ladies and gentlemen, as I am playing around apparently with the controls, there you go. They will just allow me to do that. There you go. This is why you don't let the kiddies play with the toys. We'll be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages.
Southwest 1380 has an engine fire descending. Yeah, we have a part of the aircraft missing.
I had been watching aircraft fly overhead